How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video. My name is Ethen Preston. I'm a KastKing Pro team member, and in this video I want to talk to you about a few of my favorite baits that I like to throw in the fall, and one thing that I think is very overlooked, especially when you're targeting bass in the Midwest where I'm at, in North Dakota, Minnesota primarily. One thing that is really overlooked in the fall, and I think can help you catch more fish and also catch maybe some of the biggest fish of the year for you. So let's get into it. First off, let's talk about this tip, and I honestly think it is really overlooked, is that when the water temperatures dip below 60 or in the low 60s and they start getting into the 50s, it feels like where I fish, a lot of fish will leave their deeper haunts or even your outside weed lines, that kind of thing, and they run to the bank. I don't know why, but if there's any green vegetation left on the bank, or if there's any structure left towards the bank, I feel like a lot of fish just run to the bank, and a lot of people miss them. They assume that once the water temperatures get a little bit colder, they start pushing off to outside weed lines, outside rock pile structure, and prepare for late fall into their winter. For me, what I find is they run shallow. If your structure in your lake is wood, in this video I'm going to be targeting docks primarily, but I've also went and targeted green vegetation, your milfoils, your lily pads, any of that weeds that once the water temperature gets colder are still green and still have good cover. A lot of times your largemouth and your smallmouth will be up in there. And so first off is a buzzbait. For me, as soon as the bass start feeding on top water and the bluegills get active, up here in the Midwest, obviously down south you can throw it a lot of times once you got active shad, but for me up here in the Midwest, a buzzbait. And what I'm looking for is, yes, you're going to pick off individual fish and you're going to catch the aggressive fish, but you're going to end up in, it seems like in the fall, I don't know if it's a cover thing, so there's fish on certain cover, or there's certain weeds or the certain bottom compositions that they really tend to hold to, but they get schooled up or grouped up shallow. So all of a sudden in 2-3 casts you could have 2 or 3 fish, and I know that's an area where I'm going to slow down and throw a couple of these other techniques that we're going to talk about, because the fish are there. The buzzbait allows me to cruise through a bunch of dead water. Either you catch a fish here, catch a fish there, but as soon as I catch, in 2 or 3 casts I catch 2 or 3 fish, I'm going to put the buzzbait down. I know it's a really fun way to catch them. It's one of my favorite ways to catch them all year long. I'm going to pick up some other techniques that makes it more efficient. I can stay put in one area and hopefully catch more fish in there, even the fish that aren't as aggressive. I love throwing this on. This is a KastKing Spirale. This is the 7.4 medium heavy moderate fast. So it's a composite 70-30 blank in there, parabolic bend. This is one of the rods that Cliff Crochet designed, but I don't know if you can see here behind me, it's got real parabolic bend and allows the fish to catch the buzzbait. So I don't even have to be looking half the time. The buzzbait loads up and it goes under, and you just lean into them and keep the pressure on them, and it's really increased my hookup ratio. This is a KastKing Fascinator Elite 8:1 gear ratio reel on this one, so I keep it a little faster. It allows me to keep that buzzbait on top of the water and keep it as a medium retrieve. I don't have to speed everything up for a slower retrieve, and I don't have to creep as if I had a high gear ratio reel. 40-pound KastKing braided line, and that's literally all it is. Cast the reel till I find the fish, and then I'll settle into a spot. This is one of my near and dear setups. I've done a couple videos on them way back when, but it's something that I've developed, and it's in a niche market up here or anywhere there's aquatic vegetation, and it's commonly talked about as my grocery getter setup to the guys that I fish with. And that is just a 5-inch Senko stick bait, whatever, 4/0 hook. This is a heavy gauge EWG or extra wide gap hook, and it's rigged weightless. Okay, since I am fishing around cover here, or even some of those thicker weeds, this is definitely a beefier setup. Use whatever setup that you're comfortable with, but I've brought in 4 or 5 pound largemouth with this setup, no problem, and just get them in a boat right away. And that is the KastKing 7.1. This is their medium heavy Perigee 2 spinning rod. Just a meat stick of a rod, but it's got a good bendability where I skip this around cover a lot. This is the discontinued reel, but you can get any of their other reels with a great drag system. This is a KastKing Kodiak, and it doesn't really matter what reel you use with this setup, because I have the drag cranked all the way down, so there's no pulling on it. Typically it's not what you're used to seeing with a spinning reel setup, because they're more finesse and stuff like that. I use it finessely to get this bait into cover, not have to deal with backlashes and stuff, and skip it around cover a little bit more accurately, and not have to deal with the bait caster problems of backlashing and stuff. But otherwise than that, I don't use any of the drag system on there. as well. And I have anywhere from 50 to 60 pound. This is a Pro braided line. Yes, it's overkill. 100% know that. You can get away with any of your 20, 30 pound braided line. It's an overpowered setup. Throw a weightless Senko on whatever setup you feel comfortable with. But this is, like I said, my grocery getter setup, and catch a lot of fish with this. If you're in a little bit clear water situation, your fish are a little bit more finicky, go braid to a fluorocarbon leader. But the main thing on this is just a weightless Senko. Throw this around. If the fish are really fired up, they're going to eat it off the surface. Otherwise, they're going to eat it in that mid-water column, or when it sits on top of the weeds. It's a great setup. That's how I like to target the schools of them. It's non-invasive. It just floats in there, and you can catch 4, 5, 6 fish, whatever. Or a dock here, catch 2 or 3 fish underneath the dock, and they really don't know why the other fish left. It's not like a crankbait or a buzzbait or something swimming by them. They knew some sound was up. This literally does nothing. So that's my last setup that I like to use to kind of clean up the school. All right, guys. Hope you learned something here in this video. Some of my favorite techniques to be able to catch bass here in the fall in the upper Midwest, or your surrounding states, that kind of thing, because fall is coming and so is the ice, unfortunately. So hope you learned something. Drop some techniques or some questions, comments, anything below. Let me know, let everybody else know. What's your favorite technique or favorite way to target bass in the fall in the Midwest? Let us know. Thanks for watching. Again, my name is Ethen, Preston, Pro Team member here at KastKing, and tune in next time.